Hi there, my name is Jenna Sherman, and I'm pleased to welcome you to our virtual presentation on monitoring the health conversation online, detecting notable shifts through word embeddings and semantic change. So as researchers from across the spectrums of CS and public health, we were really struck by the sheer amount of health information accessed every day online and how inequitable both health information and health access are. With this background in mind, we were really interested in being able to better understand health info and discussions online around health for use by public health practitioners, policymakers, fact checkers, and others towards the ultimate goal of improving health information and in turn, health itself. After exploring a range of possible approaches, we decided to pursue semantic change detection as a mode for surveilling change in use of words online. What we were really interested in at the highest level was if this approach would actually be effective in correctly detecting change in word usage. As a corollary question, we were interested in the efficacy of this approach in identifying health misinformation online. We settled on this approach for a range of reasons, chief among them being that this technique is relatively unexplored for this application and because of the potential significance for public health. As you can see on the slide, we pursued this question by analyzing both short-term changes in the usage of single words and the changes in the relationship between pairs of words.
Word embeddings represent words as mathematical vectors based on the words that surround them. So for instance, for the word vaccination in this slide, we learn dense vectors based on many instances of context words used around that word. We use word embeddings from Schumacher et al., who trained them on a random sample of 1.7 billion English language tweets collected via the Twitter streaming API statuses/sample endpoint. Schumacher et al. Trained the embeddings for each month from a 5.5-year period covering January 1st, 2012 to June 30th, 2017. The semantic or meaning similarity between words can be measured as the angle between their word embedding vectors. For this example, word embeddings will detect the similarity even if vaccination and cancer never actually appear together. So in this hypothetical example, our analysis shows that vaccination has a context with immunity, eradication, etc. Words sharing similar contexts are given similar embeddings or vectors. We can measure how similar two words are by the angle between their vector representations. And this diagram shows a hypothetical relationship between the words vaccination and cancer. The flowchart on the right demonstrates our methodology. To monitor health keywords on a stream of data, we first need a health lexicon. And we begin with a combination of handcrafted keywords and keywords collected from nice lists of terms for conditions and diseases. We monitor a subsample stream of Twitter data for a period of time, but of course our methodology is generic for any text data stream. To monitor health lexicon present in the stream, we would also need keywords that are outside the vocabulary of public health experts. So we expand our health lexicon using the clean Twitter data and the collected seed set of health lexicons. We use a modified version of the classic text rank algorithm for keyword extraction that biases the results towards a specific keywords. And a specific keywords here refers to the initial health lexicon. And by using this biased version of the text rank algorithm, we extract similar keywords to the given term set. However, we believe any other generic term set expansion algorithm will also work for expanding the health lexicon. And so to study the shift in word usage, we also need a representation of our corpus over time. And for that, we train embeddings for each month of the Twitter data. Of course, for this project, we use the existing embeddings from Schumacher et al.'s work. Now that we have a proper representation of our stream over time and the collection of keywords to monitor, we can run different analyses to detect shifts in meaning and possible misinformation within that. These shifts or spikes are detected by ranking words by their largest residual of a linear regression. So now we can look at how the meaning of a single word changes over time or compare the distance of a word pair and detect any spikes in that trend. This can also be done in more depth as a case study where we can manually also look for the cause of the shift in meaning.
And after getting the quantitative data and seeing those residuals, the largest residuals, we qualitatively analyzed the Twitter data in each month of the residual, as well as the preceding and subsequent months, in order to categorize the data into 3 different buckets. Those being 1, false positives, in essence, meaning that we don't know why there's a residual there. 2, genuine change unrelated to misinfo, and most of these are related to big events in the world. And then the 3rd is genuine change related to misinformation. So moving on to the results, changes in word use we found was successfully detected in 80.77% of the words and word pairs analyzed. Most of these changes, as I mentioned, were driven by large, often social events, some of which I'll talk about. In 20% of words and word pairs analyzed, we found examples of health misinformation. You can see that for the top 10 individual words and word pairs, they both had similar breakdowns of those red and blue categories: genuine change in use, no misinfo, and genuine change in use, misinfo, respectively. When the list was expanded to include more terms, the amount of misinfo detected jumps from approximately 30%, as you can see, to 50% with regards to word pairs. We focused on word pairs after our initial analysis because it showed that sharp increases in the strength of association between pairs often corresponded to more relevant public health implications compared to single words. Finally, we explored specific case studies of the words cancer and flu and analyzed the largest 50 residuals of pairs with each word. You'll see that the number of false positives goes up due to volume and corresponding noise. However, though there was less misinformation identified percentage-wise, we actually found that through this case study process, our methods were an effective strategy for surfacing misinfo that hasn't yet been addressed by health authorities such as the WHO, and that studying the change in a specific word with pairs shows promise as a health surveillance tool. So these 6 figures represent the range of those 3 buckets of findings. I'll quickly categorize each of them and then highlight one from each of the 3 buckets. Figure A is genuine change in use, no misinfo, as is figure C. Figure B is a false positive, and D through F represent genuine changes in use related to misinfo. So figure A is a really simple example of how residuals represent change in word use, in this case not related to misinformation. So hearkening back to what I was saying about events resulting in residuals, in this case, chemical jumps, as you can see, significantly from April to May 2017 due to a chemical attack that took place on April 4 that year in Syria. Figure B represents a false positive in which tweets including the term rehab in the medical sense and including the term cancer varied in references to both cancer the disease and the astrological sign and showed no detectable qualitative change in the use of rehab and cancer over the period we observed. Finally, figure D represents genuine change in use related to misinformation. Flu remedy, which had a negative residual, served as a strong indicator for health misinfo in the months surrounding regarding the effectiveness of at-home or do-it-yourself remedies.
So these are some of our initial findings, and we think they show promise, but still give us a ways to go. And particularly, we want to develop a larger labeled data set of misinformation on social media to try out other approaches in machine learning to rank and classify words or word pairs. We think we can bring in some additional information, such as changes in the volume of how frequently a word is used. And as Ashkan mentioned, none of this is particular to Twitter or to English. So we very much want to see how we can extend to multiple languages and to multiple platforms. And while all of this research happened before the current pandemic, we very much hope to return to it in due course and implement sort of a near real-time pipeline to understand whether this methodology can be useful to practitioners, health authorities, and others to stay on top of the conversations that are happening and be able to respond appropriately to new trends emerging. Thank you for your time, and we very much hope that you'll look out for our work. There's more out at health.medan.com. Thank you.